Hey folks, Doug Blake with Body Design University. In this video, I want to circle back around to a question that a student had and posted actually in our Facebook group, and it was related to fluid replacement recommendations before, during, after exercise. She had done one of ACE's practice quizzes or questions, and in it, they're basically asking you to determine the amount of hydration before exercise or 4 hours before exercise. Now, look, I've stated this time and time again in the quote real world of personal fitness training, where you're training people one-on-one, small group, whatever. You're not doing this. This is all from the real world of athletic training. So this is a very advanced methodology that you would use if you wanted to get really exact, particularly when it comes to athletes. Because the average person, you don't need to do any of this. You just tell them to drink more water. That's generally how it works 99.99% of the time. So, but it's their test, right? It's their test, and they want you to know certain things. And there's two ways to go about this. Number one is you can try to memorize the formula. And the student had asked the question of, I don't remember seeing how to calculate this. And I want to again give you two ways to understand how to answer the question, because it's the question you're interested in answering. You're simply not going to be training people on a Monday training session, and you're doing whatever body parts and you're training them and having a great time with them, and then going, okay, stop for a second, let me check your hydration status. And it doesn't happen like that. And by the way, even though I said it's a very advanced methodology for athletes, we don't do it with athletes either, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a really, really strict methodology for doing this. So on paper, yeah, looks great. In the real world, no. But you got to answer their questions, right? Because it's their test. And so let's go to table 6.3. It's on page 199, right? Fluid replacement recommendations. And it's a real simple table: before exercise, during exercise, after exercise. Before exercise, drink 5 to 7 milliliters per kilogram of body weight. Okay. At least 4 hours before exercise. 12 to 17 ounces for a 154-pound individual. There is the easiest way to understand this, is that part of it. But let's just look at it, right, for the sake of the question that is asked, which is, you have a 130-pound, I think it was 130-pound, 134-pound person. How much should they drink, right? 4 hours before exercise. They're basically asking you to remember this one box in here, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. The point is let's just look at it anyway, because the calculation is pretty straightforward. If you were to take the body weight of an individual in kilograms, right? A 100-pound person weighs this much in kilograms. The conversion ratio is 2.2. So in this case, a 154-pound individual would weigh a certain amount in kilograms. You would multiply that by, and they give you the the formula right here, or they give you the numbers: 0.08 to 0.11 ounces per pound, 154 pounds. Do it on a calculator. It comes out to 12 to 17 ounces. Okay. So any question that you see that asks, how much should you drink before, or 4 hours before, always keep in mind the average person, no matter what their body weight is, whether they're 150 pounds, 200, 250, you have to memorize. This is easy to memorize. They're going to need to drink somewhere between 10 to 20 ounces. That's the way you think about it. Think about an 8-ounce bottle of water, right? I mean, that's what most water bottles come in: 8 ounces, 10, 12 ounces. So always keep that in mind. Okay. Does it make sense to drink 120 ounces, right? What's 120 ounces? That's like a gallon or some ridiculous. No, what makes sense? a bottle, or maybe a bottle and a half, or two bottles, maybe even a large bottle of water, depending on your body size. So, to basically answer a question like that, you don't have to use a calculator. You go by process of elimination in some of these questions. And so if you remember that, an average sized person, 154 pounds, should consume between 12 to 17 ounces. Think of the number 12 to 17. When you look at the answer options, you should be looking for something that's similar to 12 to 17, 154 pounds. So if you see in the question, well, how much water should a 200-pound person drink 4 hours before their training session? Think about what I just did. I already know that roughly 12, 15 ounces. I mean, if you want, just remember 15, 150-pound person, roughly somewhere around there. Again, these are rough estimations. 150 pounds. Well, this person's 200 pounds. It's got to be more than 15 ounces. Probably got to be more than 17 ounces, something like that. Well, what do? You look in the answers. Which one of the four responses has something closer to 20 ounces, 22 ounces, or the number range that's roughly in that area? There's going to be an answer that gives you roughly that answer. Any of the other answers that are lower than 12 to 17 ounces or something like that are obviously wrong, because the heavier the person, the more water that individual technically, ideally, should be drinking. So now go the other way. If it's a 130-pound person, it's got to be less than 12 to 17. It's probably going to be something like 10 or 8 to 13, 14, or 15. Well, at least in the response that this individual, and you can see it when you go into the Facebook, when you're in the Facebook group itself, take a look. One of the responses was, I think, 10 to 12 or 10 to 15 ounces, something like that. Well, that makes a little bit more sense, because 130 pounds from 150 pounds is just a little bit lighter. So it'd be just a little bit less water. 10 ounces, 10, 12, something like that starts to sound more reasonable. See, now you can use process of elimination. And so that would be the answer. Again, if you see something during exercise, let me just finish this up with you. Um, Monitor individual body weight. Let me give some commentary as I'm going through the paper academic-y stuff here. Okay. Monitor individual body weight. No, that's just not going to happen. It makes no sense. It just makes no sense. I'm not telling people to stop their set and come over and measure their body weight. You know what you do as a trainer? You tell them to fill up their water bottle and drink a whole bottle of water during the entirety of their workout. And then they can check their urine when they urinate. Are they urinating? If you're urinating, at least you hydrated, EU hydrated, at least you're hydrated. That's good. Now probably what you want to do is check to see the color and the clarity, things like that. So, after exercise, consumption of normal meals, beverages will restore you hydration. If rapid recovery is needed, drink 1.5 liters or 23 ounces per pound of body weight lost. Okay. Okay, that's great. On paper, that's great. You know what you do after a workout? Drink some more water and keep drinking some water. And then when you urinate, check your urine. That's how you do it. That's called the real world of training. Nothing wrong with the table. But to answer the question and to satisfy the testing parameters that are going to be thrown at you, there is the easiest way to deal with a question like that. And again, just check in the Facebook group and look at the post that was done there, and you can see the question itself. I think it's 130 something pound individual. How much water? Again, use a basic measure of, that, or at least you should memorize 150 pounds, 12, 17, roughly 15 ounces for a 150-pound person. Pretty straightforward. chop the zero off of the number. If you weigh 200 pounds, chop the zero at the end, it's 20. So a 200-pound person, roughly the median amount is 20 ounces, something like that, which means the answer is going to be between 15, 16, and 22, something like that. If you do the calculations, it will give you the rough estimate, easy enough to answer the question. I hope this helps. As always, if you got questions like this, just let us know. Put it in the comment section below, by the way. And if this made sense and it helps you, also put the word understand in there. We're here to help you to pass the ACE exam. Let us know how we can be of assistance. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Bye.